All right, so welcome back to day number 10 of our 30 days of Q&A. So I'm here at my parents' house down in South Dakota. There's this really cool view at the top of the house. And I figured today would be a good opportunity to dive into this idea of lookalike audiences and creating a custom audience so that you can actually target the right fans based on your most engaged listeners, based on your most profitable audience. I think the two biggest questions that I hear are, one, how do I get my music in front of the right people who are going to actually resonate with it and care and enjoy it? And two, how do I monetize my music? How do I actually make this sustainable and do this full time? And so I think creating lookalike audiences is one of the biggest opportunities to do both of those things. And so first, to describe what exactly is a lookalike audience, basically, if you have a group of at least 100 fans and you have their email addresses or their phone numbers, then you can upload that group to Facebook or Instagram and create a lookalike audience. And a lookalike audience, what they do is they basically look at the group of fans you uploaded and they say, what do these people have in common? What are their demographics? What artists do they listen to? What pages do they visit online? And based on all of these properties that they understand about their users, they're able to create this lookalike audience that looks through their billions of users that are using Facebook and Instagram. And Google and YouTube also have something like this as well. I think they call it similar audiences. But based on the group that you upload, it can find 1 to 2 million people that most closely match the characteristics of the group that you gave them. And so a couple of benefits of having the StreetTeam platform is that we can really streamline this process for you and make it so you can click on a single button and create these lookalike audiences. But Facebook and Instagram actually have a built-in way that it involves a little bit more manual work to upload the files. But if you have this list, then you can do it on any platform. It doesn't have to be on StreetTeam. It doesn't have to be on anything in particular. So I'm just going to walk through both use cases for how you can upload and create one of these lookalike audiences for yourself. So the first thing that you're going to want to do is, in order to create one of these lookalike audiences, you're going to need a list of people to upload, or else they're not going to know who should I create this lookalike audience from. And so if you're using StreetTeam, then you'll navigate to where it says contacts. And I'm going to show you how you do this normally. Most CRMs will have some sort of feature like this. So if you're using MailChimp or ActiveCampaign or any CRM where you can see a list of email addresses and a list of phone numbers, then you want to navigate to that screen and you want to select your list that you want to use for the lookalike audience. So if you're using an advanced platform that lets you segment your audience, then you can do things like, for example, I want to only include fans whose lifetime value is greater than $100. And so this is just a demo account that I'm using. If you were tracking all of this, it's going to show a list of all of the people in your community that match those filters. And you can segment this based on anything. So you can segment this based on everyone that's purchased your bronze NFT. And that way you're going to create a lookalike audience out of everyone that matches the characteristics of all the people who've purchased your bronze NFT, for example. So any way you do it, you can start by exporting that list as a CSV file. So in StreetTeam, the way that you do this is you select those records and then you go to export contacts. So you want to make sure that when you're exporting this list that it has all of the custom fields that you want to include. So for example, lifetime value is a really good one that you probably want to include as you're uploading this. But you can do this on any CRM. If you went like MailChimp, export contacts, then it's going to walk you through exactly how to export your contacts to a CSV file. And once you do that, then it's going to download a CSV file. And if you look at a CSV file, then it's going to look something like this. It's like a spreadsheet, basically. And so this is what you need in order to upload this manually into the business manager. So once you have that file, then you can come back here and navigate to audiences. So business.facebook.com. And once you navigate to audiences, you're going to see the screen that says create a custom audience, lookalike audience, saved audience, or special ad audience. The one that you're going to want to click is create a custom audience to start with. And here it's going to give you a bunch of different options for what you want to use for this source data to create the lookalike audience from. So there's actually some really cool things that you could do with this. For example, if you had a music video, so we have a strategy, we call it the 100K music video launch strategy, which for about $500 in ads, you can pretty reliably get at least 100,000 views on your video through running these ads. And one of the benefits of running one of these campaigns is that you can create a lookalike audience based on anyone who's watched, let's say 75% of your video. And you can choose the video here. And what's going to happen is it's going to create a lookalike audience based on all the people who not only watched 5 seconds of the video, but actually watched pretty much the whole video. So that can be a really powerful lookalike audience as well. But for the sake of this video and walking through the people who've actually joined your email list and the people who've actually purchasing things from you, if you come to create a custom audience first, then there'll be an option called customer list. When you click on customer list, this is where it's going to break down how to map the different fields that were in your list. So in this example, you see that there's these different columns, right? We have first name, last name, email, created. There's these different columns, right? We have first name, last name, email, created date, etc. And here is where they give you the option to include a column for customer value. And this is easily one of the most important properties that you want to keep track of within your audience, because this is telling Instagram and Facebook, here's all my most valuable fans. These are all the people who spent $100 or $1,000 on my music. And then when it's targeting people, it's going to take them into account. And it's going to find people who match the characteristics of your most engaged fans. So we'll say, yes, customer value is included in my customer list. And here's where you're going to upload that file that you downloaded. So this is the part where you're going to choose which column maps out to the customer value column. So in this, we're going to choose the column that says value here, how much they spent. And then here you might name this all fan base. So if you're exporting your entire list, then you just say all fan base, and you'd want to make sure you include value in there. Okay, and then it's going to go to a screen where you can map out these different fields. This is basically giving Instagram and Facebook more context so that it's easier for them to match and figure out which fan is which, because they need to know which user is this. And so the way they do that is by matching phone number and email. So they look through all of their users and they see if they have a phone number listed. And if it's this phone number, then they can match it to that person. Same thing with email address. They'll look through all of their Facebook users and see, do they have an email address that matches the one that we're uploading? So what's really cool is if you have a direct Facebook API integration, then you can go a step further. These can be not 100% match rate. Let's say you have 100 people on your list. If you upload all their email addresses, it's possible that they use a different email address for logging into Facebook. So it might not be the right email address. And so it could be as low as 30 or 40% of the people you upload, they're actually getting matched to Facebook and Instagram if you're just doing it this manual way. But if you have some advanced system set up who are actually tracking more than just their email and their phone number, but you actually have we're really geeking out here, but this is called their Facebook Pixel ID, and you have that stored, then when you create these lookalike audiences, these custom audiences, you can actually have 100% match rate because you're keeping track of the people, not just based on their email or their phone number, but you actually have a unique pixel ID that lets Facebook and Instagram know this is exactly who the person is. So if you do this in a more advanced way, you can have 100% match rate. If you're doing it like this, then you can have maybe 30 or 40%, depending on if they're using the same email address they're using to log in to Facebook. Okay, so from here, you can click on Import and Create. And if you have a bunch of different fields, it's going to ask if you want to map these as well. It can be helpful sometimes, but most of the time, I would recommend just focusing on phone number and email. These are the ones that are really going to help you to match them. And then when you click Import and Create, it's going to upload that file. Boom. So now you have this audience that's uploaded that you can actually do some really cool things with. You could actually, they call this retargeting campaigns, where let's say that you were getting ready to play a worldwide tour. Then now you could actually upload your entire fan base to this platform, and you could start retargeting people in different cities that you're going to be on tour and say, I just want to send these ads to people that are already in my fan base, who are already subscribed to my list. And as they're scrolling through Instagram or Facebook or like throughout the internet, now they can see specific posts that are designed for them based on their location. So there's some pretty advanced stuff you can do with this. In terms of creating a lookalike audience, it might not let us create one because we only had 13 or 14 demo accounts in here, but let's see if it lets us do this. So basically, to create a lookalike audience, what you're going to do is you're going to click on the custom audience you created, go to Actions, and click on Create Lookalike. And so this is saying, okay, the lookalike source is going to be all fan base, and the audience location is going to be wherever you decide that you want the lookalike audience to be based. They have talked about changing this audience location, like removing this part entirely. So this might look different in the future, but this is what it looks like right now. And then it's going to ask you, what do you want the size of your lookalike audience to be? So if you drag this all the way to 10%, what's going to happen is it's going to expand the size of lookalike audience. So there's actually 28 million people that you can target from this audience. In order to do that though, it has to widen, it has to loosen up the targeting, right? So it's reaching more people, but they might not necessarily be as dialed in as this 1% lookalike audience. If you do a 1% lookalike audience, it's only reaching the people who are the closest match to that group of people that you uploaded. So in this case, there's 2.7 million people, which is still more than enough. And normally for most people, I recommend keeping it on 1% because that's going to give you the most dialed in, focused audience. And I would only recommend expanding it to 10% or more if you have some further refining that you're doing. So it's like you're using this as the base audience, but then you also want to narrow it by location, or you want to narrow it by another factor, then you might want to start with a bigger audience so that when you narrow it down, it actually brings it down to a final size of around a couple million. So from here, we can click on Create Audience. Hey, cool, let us do it. Normally, it doesn't let you do that if you don't have at least 100 people. I'm guessing that it's still, it let us do that because it's still populating that data. So when you upload this audience, it takes probably like an hour or so for Facebook to match those users and basically look and compare and find out who they are. So once this is populated, it probably would say you can't create a lookalike audience because we only have 13 people in there. So the minimum is normally 100 people that you need in order to create one of these lookalike audiences. So from there, the way that you actually can use this in a campaign is if we come back here to our VTH example campaign. So we launched this earlier in the 30 days of Q&A. I think it was where we were talking about what best way to grow your fan base in 2022. And so we launched this example campaign. And so what you could do here is if you come into ad sets for this campaign, right now, the one that we launched as a test was for the Beatles, right? So we were just targeting people who are fans of the Beatles. Let's say now that we actually want to target people from our lookalike audience. We could come here and just click on duplicate. And now we can see that we have this copy of this ad set. We'll call this all fans lookalike. And if you scroll down, everything else will be exactly the same when you duplicate it. But the part that you want to change is where you have the targeting options. So here we'd want to turn off the Beatles. And we'd probably also want to turn off this other refining that we did as well. Since the lookalike audience, we've refined things quite a bit. We're targeting people in Antarctica or United States. And then here, you're going to want to select that lookalike audience. So now that we've created it, there's a section at the top here that says Custom Audiences. So we're going to click Lookalike All Fan Base. So what's going to happen right now is you notice here that it says the estimated audience size is fewer than 1,000 people. The reason that it says that is because we just created this, so it's still populating that data. When it's all said and done, it's going to be a few million people that are added to this lookalike audience. But yeah, you'll notice here at the beginning when you first create this that it says fewer than 1,000 people. And this is also where you can choose different custom audiences. So let's say that you did want to do a retargeting campaign and just send it to people that you know are fans of your music. And this is a great idea for new releases. If you have a new album that's coming out, then you absolutely want to make sure that every single person that's subscribed to you and following you is seeing it everywhere that they go online. And one of the best ways to do that is by creating a retargeting campaign. And it's funny, I hear this a lot where people, they feel like their phone is spying on them and listening to their conversations because they're like, this is crazy. Like I was just talking about this thing, it's happening, now it's like ads are popping up for it. And the truth is, your phone is not listening to your conversations. Apple, the privacy, they would not allow Facebook to do that. But it feels like they are because they're essentially watching every single step that you take. Not every single step, but there's a lot of websites right now that have a Facebook pixel included on the website. And so that basically tells Facebook and Instagram a lot of different things about what you're doing. So it's not just when you're on Facebook. If you've logged into a website using Facebook's login or anything like that, or they just have a pixel on their website, then Facebook knows like who you are. They know that you're visiting these different websites. And it's an optical illusion, because a lot of times when we're like talking about something, we hear something or we've done a Google search for it, or we've gone to a website and we might have forgotten about it, or they do some pretty sophisticated targeting based on your friends. So it's possible that you had a conversation with a friend and then they searched for something, and then because you're associated with them, they put that in front of you. So there's some pretty sophisticated things that are happening with that. But the point is that these retargeting campaigns are really powerful. And it's one of the best types of campaigns that you want to make sure that you're running when you're rolling out new music. And it's just another reminder that I see one thing people get hung up on a lot is they're spending way too much time trying to perfect their first release and thinking they need to have this perfect release strategy and launching their music career, their album. And the truth is that if you don't have an audience yet, if you don't really have the backing of a big user base, you have a big audience of people who are actually excited and waiting to listen to the songs, then it doesn't really matter that much how you release the songs. And that's why it's so important to have a promotion strategy to build your fan base, to grow your audience, even before you do a big public release. Yeah, so the virtual tour hacking video that we did, where we walked through how to launch your campaign and actually grow your fan base with real people, I would recommend doing that before you focus a lot of time or energy on doing a big public release or strategy or PR or publicity, so that you have at least a few thousand, if not 5 or 10,000 people on your email list before you do a big public launch. And that's also going to allow you to do one of these retargeting campaigns, so that when you do release a song, you actually have people that know who you are, who are excited to listen to it, that you can retarget with the release. Okay, yep, so this is where you can choose either lookalike audience, or you can choose to retarget that fan base that you just uploaded. And from here, you just click on publish, and it's going to start running the campaign now to both the Beatles and to this lookalike audience that's based on your fan base. This is one of the most important pieces of this whole strategy, is based on the more data that's coming in. The more data that comes in, the better idea that the algorithm knows of who are your most engaged fans and who are the people that you actually want to target. And so it's really important, as more data comes in, that you're keeping track and identifying who are your top fans. Because if you don't do that identification, then Facebook doesn't really know. They're just guessing based on what's the cheapest amount of traffic they could send you. Whereas if you are doing a good job of segmenting and actually looking at what's the lifetime value of my fans as they're purchasing things, and also not just lifetime value, but what's their points. So with the StreetTeam platform, you can keep track of points that you give them based on how often they stream your songs or how often they attend your shows. And so you can actually track engagement score as well, which is another type of thing that you can actually create a lookalike audience based on the engagement score in the same way that you would create it based on lifetime value. So rather than putting their value is the LTV field here, you could actually choose a different field called points, and they can upload that, and you can use that to create the lookalike audience as well. The last thing I want to walk through is just, we've taken a good amount of time showing you how you can manually export this audience. You can upload this. You can use any platform to do this. So now I'm just going to show you how easy it is to create a custom and lookalike audience using the StreetTeam platform. And this is actually this is kind of like our beta version of this. So there's actually more functionality that we're gonna be adding to it. And I'm really excited about that piece too, because the benefit of having the StreetTeam platform that basically segments your audience into the different tiers, or it's diamond, platinum, gold, silver, bronze, is that you can use that data to create these lookalike audiences based on what level of fan someone is in your audience. And so basically what we've designed the platform to be able to do for you is to automatically group your fans into these different segments based on who are your top fans, who are the most engaged fans, who are the ones who are actually spending the most money to support you. And so that's really the full vision of the StreetTeam platform, is to be able to give you this easy system to be able to create those lookalike audiences. This might look a little bit different based on when you're watching this, but right now, when you're logged into StreetTeam, if you click on this button that says API platform, that's where we've hosted the custom audience integration. And when you click on that, it's basically going to do the hard work for you of creating your audience. Basically, all you need to do is click on that button and then it does this whole process for you. So it creates the lookalike audience based on your entire fan base, and it actually uploads all of your fan base into a single custom audience. So these two audiences are what it creates right now, is your entire street team, and then the lookalike audience based on your entire street team. And it goes one step above. It actually creates a value-based custom audience as well, including the points value for you. So essentially, it just does everything that we just did in a single button click. The part that it doesn't do yet that we're adding is the segmentation, so that not just your whole fan base, it actually has bronze, silver, gold, platinum, diamond. So depending on when you're watching this, you might be able to find that directly. Likely the place that you would find this in the future is on a custom menu button. We might call it API platform. We actually might call this Lookalike Audiences. We might create a new button called Lookalike Audiences. You click on that and it just goes directly to that. So that's where you can look for this if you're looking to create one of these using the StreetTeam platform. And then you just want to follow the instructions to click on this, add your custom audience, so we can upload that, and then you can just use this audience in order to launch campaigns the way that we just walked through how to do it in the Ads Manager. All right, so I know this is some pretty technical, geeky stuff, but we do have the video replay, so you can go back, you can rewatch it, you can go through at your own pace. And this is why I'm so excited and geeking out about the StreetTeam platform, is because I know that for a lot of people, the technical side of it is the thing that holds them back. And I want to make sure that we are able to set these things up for you in a way that's just like you click it once and now boom, you have this all set up automatically. And what's great too is this is another feature that we're going to be adding in once we add the different segments with the lookalike audiences, is automatically keeping them up to date for you. This is a huge one, because if you do this manually, the way that we walked through here in the custom audience manager, the way that we set this up manually is that when you uploaded this, it was just for the fans who are currently in your audience. But let's say that, I don't know, a week from now, you have an extra 20,000 people that joined your email list because you happen to get a really cool opportunity to collaborate with a much bigger artist. So you have 20,000 new people in your audience. By default, the only way that you could create that new lookalike audience is you could either come in here, and then there's like this complicated process where you can add more people to this audience. I think actually you have to go to here, and then you can say, edit, here you go, add customers, and then go through this process again manually. And you have to do this every single time you have new fans who come into your audience if you want to be able to factor that into these lookalike audiences, right? So we used to do this. We would do this like every few days when we're running, because you're spending hundreds of thousands of dollars on ads per year. And so it's important for us to have up-to-date, synced data so that it's getting the best results. And so we would do this every few days manually. And with the StreetTeam platform, what we'll be able to do is once a day automatically update these audiences for you based on the current state of your audience. So that means that you set this up once, you click on that button that we showed you, and if it's your first time setting it up, then when you click on this, it's going to do a pop-up where it says, here's 2 steps to do to link your account to your Facebook account. And then once you do that, then it's like automatically in sync, it keeps your audience up to date, and that's a huge time saver and a value add, because it keeps these audiences in sync with your most engaged, most valuable audience. So yeah, I know that this is a technical thing, and if it feels overwhelming or a little bit stressful or like, there's a lot of stuff, that's totally normal and that's totally okay. And you have this video to be able to go back through it. And yeah, hopefully this has been valuable. It's a cool location to do this. I don't know if you can really get the scope of this area, but it's pretty gorgeous. Hope you have an awesome rest of your day, and until next time. Yeah!